Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. Welcome to Throwback Thursday. Check this hot rod out. Well Fuzzy, this doesn't look like that old of a motorcycle. It's not. It's about 12 years old. It's a 2010 T100, Triumph T100. But it's got some really neat features and I'd like to go over some of that with y'all. First let's start with what it is. It's a 865cc parallel twin, which means it's got a 360-degree crank. The pistons move up in unison, every other one firing. It's fuel injected, but yet it looks like it's got a carburetor. It's dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder. It's got a 5-speed transmission. It is fuel injected, but it still has this choke button on the side, which is kind of interesting, I always think. It's oil cooled, air and oil cooled. So the big old oil cooler back there. Kind of a neat engine. I'm really partial to these bikes because, well, I own one for one. I own a 2012 model, but I love the way they handle. I love the way they look. And I just think they're an absolutely beautiful motorcycle. When Triumph got back into the Bonneville range, they made this particular bike to begin with, and it was actually a 790cc model, which my understanding is they wanted a 4-valve head, and that was the smallest they could get the cylinder and still have the crank, you know, the crank displacement that they wanted, the crank throw that they wanted. And then they bumped it up a little bit to get this model. There's a lot of detail in this bike that harkens back to the old era, and I'm going to start with the paint, because that's one of the things that really grabs me about this bike. And you know, it's got that British green or whatever you want to call it, but it's got this really nifty stripe, white stripe, and it's got these coach lines, which I think are hand painted. You know, these gold lines right there, just absolutely well done. Very good looking detail on these bikes. I love the fit and finish on all Triumphs, particularly these modern ones. It's just a gorgeous thing in every way. Other details about this, throwback details, you know, that's a throwback to the old paint jobs. You know, this is a throwback to the old engine style, the carburetors. But this bike has pea shooter pipes, and that's another throwback. You know, they say these have the kink in it. They actually jump up here. If you look at the older bikes, they don't have that jump up, but that was to increase ground clearance. This is supposed to look like the old transmission on the old bike. It's not. It's actually a chain cover right there. Very well done on their part. This is the Triumph Heart. It looks like the old Triumph Heart, you know, and gorgeous detail. And look at that, isn't that just shiny? Just beautifully done, beautifully chrome. Look at this beautiful pedal. Just very high quality parts. I love the shocks on this. I just love everything about how these look. These, they've got the flat seat. All, you know, all the little detail. And I really love that, all that little minutia, you know. Look at the size of that clutch basket on this side. These have a very nice 5-speed transmission. There's the shifter right there. Look at the quality of that shifter. Just very, you know, cast aluminum, just beautifully done. But on mine, I love how smooth the transmission works on it. It's one of the things that sold me on the bike was how well the transmission and the clutch work together. And I will say that at all speeds, except for maybe right at idle, a little clunky, you know, when you're first putting in the gear. But other than that, it's pretty darn smooth overall. But some other details about this bike. The engine puts out, I don't know, this one has a red line that's 7,000. Now I think mine has a red line that's 8,000. Now mine's supposed to have about 67 horsepower, 9.2 to 1 compression. When I did the lookup for this one, they said the same thing, 67 horsepower, but I wonder if that's accurate. Also, this is supposed to have about 50 foot-pounds of torque. That's 69 newton meters. 59-inch wheelbase. That's 1,499 inches. I'm sorry, 1,499 millimeters. 4.2 gallon gas tank, and I can vouch for that. I've got that on mine. That's about 16.7 liters. The front tire is a 19, and I think the rear tire is a 17. Of course, chain drive. Very well done. Oh, and by the way, the forks, 41 millimeter, and they're covered on this bike, so as they are on mine. And I think, you know, that's just a good thing you want for your forks. Disc on the front is a 310 millimeter. Looks like a dual pot floating caliper. And on the back, let's see what we got here. We've got a disc on the back, and I think that's a 255 millimeter. Seat height on this particular bike is supposed to be 29.1 inches. That's 739 millimeters. Weight on these with a tank full of fuel is supposed to be 496 pounds, or roughly 225 kilograms. Now, the one I have is, those details are all about the same. And I will say that it does not feel like a 500-pound bike. It feels quite a bit lighter. Something I also will say about these is they're a little rakish and a long wheelbase, and that makes them a little little trickier to handle at lower speeds. You know, you just got to pay a little more attention. Not terrible, but they're very nimble in that sense. They, you know, they operate very well. It's not a tweaky bike, but it's got this very good, you know, it's relatively agile. You can change, you know, position and lane pretty well. It's very responsive in that way, but yet it's not, you know, it isn't the kind of bike where you think if you let go of the bars, things just go over the road. It just does very well. I really enjoy it. But anyway, other details about this. Let's go up here to the dash instrument panel. So here we've got the clock adjustments on this side for the meter down here. Got a tack on this side. The 790s did not have a tack, by the way. Bonneville, the original Bonneville. Turn signal light, neutral light, oil light. Every bike should have an oil light, and of course a high beam light. I don't know if this has a it has an engine light and a fuel light. It does not have a alternator light. That's another thing I wish all bikes had, is alternator light. But the key is up here, going over the hardware. Triumphs have great blinkers, by the way. I love them because they just, you can turn them on and off. They just work very well. Horn on this side, high lows. The clutch lever is adjustable right here. Brake lever is the same way, adjustable. And on this side we've got the start button and then the on-off button, kill switch. I've got these mirrors on my bike, and I will tell you that they're just rock solid, and I really love them. Once you get them adjusted, they're just perfect. They work very well. I do like that about Triumphs. Like I said, the thing about Triumphs is all the little detail is well done. And this is a bike that's 12 years old. You know, here's a new T100 right over here. You know, very similar look-wise. I mean, they're very classic look. These also have a 5-speed transmission. Anyway, just a beautiful motorcycle. Beautiful motorcycle. I love it. I love it. I think these are modern collectibles. I do own one, but if I didn't have one, well, I didn't have one, I went looking for one. So I think they're a bike worth having. Just a gorgeous machine. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching Throwback Thursday with me. Now, y'all get out there and ride. Wahoo!